Hey, Ty Cohen here, and take a look. I got my black Superman shirt on, hanging out at the beach. This is actually a really interesting area. Got my wife Melody right here. All right. So I was listening to. I want to share something with you guys. If you think that this is happiness, put a yes in the comments box right now before I go forward. Right? If you think this is happiness, put a yes in the comments box before I go forward. Let me know. You can just put a Y, or you put a N, or you put a no. All right. And then the second question I want to ask you is, what do you think constitutes happiness? Like, where do you think most people kind of get their happiness from? Thank you. Let me know. What do you think creates happiness for most people? And I'm curious to know what you think before I even continue with the rest of this video. So if you can comment right now before I continue with the rest of this video, it'd be interesting to see what you think generates happiness in humans. And it'll also be interesting to see what other people that are watching this video think generates happiness in individuals as well. So go ahead in the comments box right now before you continue watching. What do you think creates happiness? Do you think it's relationships? Do you think it's wealth? Do you think it's well-being? Do you think it comes from yourself? Do you think that it's the people that are around you? Do you think it's your location? It's your upbringing? Put it in the comments box right now. Let me know. All right. So I'm going to give you guys a couple of seconds to go ahead and do that. All right. You're going to be surprised by some of the things that actually create happiness. All right. So while you're putting your answer in the comments box, take a look at this. This is a really beautiful area. Lots of families out here having fun. Kids are down here yelling and screaming, right? Lots of smiles on faces. So there's been a 65-year study, the longest study of its kind ever, conducted by Harvard. And a lot of people actually kind of question the validity of this study, but it's an actual study. And one of the individuals that were the professors, or I should say that is one of the professors in this study, is Dr. Robert Walden. Dr. Robert Walden. You guys should go in and look up his book, all right? It's called The Good Life. And in his book, he talks about this study, and there's been some very well-known individuals that took part of this study, like the late President Robert Kennedy. So he's been one of the individuals. So in this study, they took just over 600 individuals. They started them at about ages 19 years old, 18, 19 years old, and they studied them for 65 years. 65 years. Now, 600 plus individuals, but through osmosis, their children and their spouses also became part of this study as well. So in total, it was about 2,000 individuals. So over the last 65 years or so, they got these 2,000 plus individuals. And what they did was they took individuals from different walks of life, right? So you've got individuals that went to Harvard that were really well off. You have people that were in the mid-range, right? And then you have people that were not so well off, right? That were from lower income communities. So they had a nice mixture of individuals, right? Because you can't do a true study if it's just all white males, right? So they have a nice mixture of individuals. And what they found is there's literally a few things that really contribute to happiness. The least of which is income, how much money you make. As a matter of fact, they found that as people get up to the level of about $75,000, right? So if you start at about $30,000 annually, and you get up to about $75,000, it increases your level of happiness, but by a small amount. And then it stops at about $75,000. So whether you made $75,000 or $75 million a year, your level of happiness didn't increase, right? So it did increase up until about $75,000 a year. One of the key factors that they found that contributes, and this is one of the number one factors that they found that contributes to happiness, is people that were able to contribute to the lives of other individuals. So being able to go in and volunteer, right? Being part of a bowling league, being part of an Alcoholics Anonymous group, as counterintuitive or as weird as that may sound, right? Being part of a collective where you're contributing to the goodness, to the wholesome, to the life of other individuals, right? They also found that people that had at least 1 to 2 individuals that they felt that they could confidently call on at 3 o'clock in the morning if they had a situation, those people tend to live happier, healthier lives, right? Now, part of the study that was pretty sad was they interviewed a lot of people, and there were some people who said that they didn't have anyone that they could call on at 3 o'clock in the morning if they needed to. Even people that were married. So they didn't feel like their spouse they can call on at 3 o'clock in the morning, which is kind of eye-opening, and that was kind of sad, right? So the amount of money that you made didn't really contribute to your level of happiness. Being able to contribute to other people, having relationships that were well-meaning contributed to your level of happiness. And then the third thing is having people that you can truly count on, even if it's just 1 or 2 individuals, right? They found out that contributed. There were also some interesting parts of the study, right? There's things like, what came first, the chicken or the egg, right? So in cases of depression, some people say, well, I'm depressed, that's why I drink, right? Or I'm depressed, that's why I end up using recreational drugs like marijuana or cocaine. And they followed these people, same people, and they found that oftentimes, in the cases of drinking, it wasn't that someone was depressed, then they started to drink or use drugs, but rather that the drugs or the drinking increase or enhance the level of depression that they had. Right? So that was just one of the things. They also found that with health, does someone seem to be a little more happier if they have a healthier life, right? If they're happier as a result of being more fit or having less health issues. And they actually found out healthier people tend to be happier as well. They also found out that less healthy people tend to have less happy relationships because of the health issues, right? The health issues manifest and they show up in their relationships, which is kind of interesting as well. But this study, it just showed a ton of different things. Again, it's following people over 65 years, and the main course of study was trying to determine like what truly caused happiness. It wasn't the material things. It's not like, okay, if I have a better house, or if I have more boats, or if I have more cars, or better watches, or things like that, right? But it was truly who it is that you can help, who you can contribute to. And I find that in my own life, like I've been able to, see massive levels of success in just different areas, right? With family, friends, levels of success and finances, right? Having material things, having access to things like this, and just having the freedom of time and freedom of well-being, freedom of resources. But one of the things that make me the most happiest is doing things like this, being able to create videos, being able to surround myself with other people, groups of people, being able to talk on the Monday morning meetups, being able to contribute to the lives of individuals like you who are looking to have someone contribute to their lives. So hopefully this video finds you well. I definitely recommend that you go in and you take a look at Dr. Robert Waldenger's book, The Good Life. It is fascinating, and it is a true, authentic study of happiness. I'm just touching the surface here as to what you guys can actually find in this thing. And Dr. Waldenger is actually a current, he's actually a professor right now at Harvard. He's actually a psychology professor at Harvard School of Medicine. So somebody that's very, valid. He's someone that is really, in tune with his stuff. And when you start to read about things like this, you start to listen to things like this, it actually has you reflecting on your own life and looking at the things that create happiness in yourself. Some of the other things that they found that have a direct correlation to the level of happiness that people have is how often do you have family dinner, right? So socializing. So do you have family dinner on a regular basis? Inviting people over to the house on a regular basis, right? Congregating. As I said earlier, being part of a bowling league, volunteering, being parts of groups where you go in and you socialize on a regular, consistent basis. So all of these things right here should. Oh, you know what? One of the other things was going to like a house of worship, whether it's your church, whether it's the mosque, wherever you go to worship, right? You're congregating with other people. So if you're thinking about the things that contribute to your level of happiness more, you simply don't have to look any further than this study, right? Because it gives you the keys to the answer. Most of us, we go in and we chase wealth, we chase the material things, and those things are fleeting when it comes to happiness. Like the levels of happiness, even myself, I know that, look, I might get a new car, and what makes me more happy than anything, than the car, and you probably can relate to this. Think about when you got your first car and you had to work for it, and you set the goal and you could see yourself driving it. That drives more happiness than actually getting the damn car, right? You get the car and you're happy for that moment. You're grateful for that moment. You're grateful for being able to achieve it. But then after that, you get into the car, and weeks later, months later, years later, the feeling is just okay, right? So it's all about constant movement. It's all about constant contribution to the lives of other people, and it's about being productive, right? As humans, we need to consistently move and set goals and have desires and dreams. So hopefully this finds you well. Hopefully you did go in and you commented at the very beginning. And if you didn't, go back, make sure you comment. And please, if you got value out of this, make sure that you like, share, and most importantly, you subscribe. I'll see you.